This is the Diary of a Lady Band Director podcast, brought to you by the Passion Is Network.
Hello. We are back again. What episode is this? This is episode 3. Okay, y'all help me. Episode 3. And today we are going to be talking about women in music and the ones who shaped us. But before we get into that, I would like to give a shout out. I didn't do this the last time, and I feel so bad for not doing it because that music you just heard was written specifically for this podcast by the Syra West, a FAMU grad. Let's round of applause. I'm gonna be honest. So when I asked for theme music, I was like, okay, I want mine to be kind of like Killer Kev, but like Industry Baby. And that's literally, yeah, I know. That's literally what I got. I got Killer Kev meets Industry Baby. Because let's all face it, like everybody knows Killer Kev's, like when one of his videos come on, it's like iconic, exclusive. I don't have that radio voice like Takenya can't be with us tonight, or Lia. Lia's in grad school, y'all, and she's getting her doctorate, her and her husband. So let's clap it up for dual doctor degrees. Like, I don't even want to know how much that bill costs. I ain't got that type of money. Raise your hand if you got that type of money. Not with these gas prices, these ghetto. I'm telling you, this is like magna cum laude gas prices. We need after pledging gas prices. Like, we need y'all. I think everybody up here got some letters. Y'all know that semester. Yeah, that semester was difficult, challenging. But we here. We got our degrees, y'all. So without further ado, let's get on to this discussion. The women that shaped this is March. It's Women's History Month, and part of this platform is about shouting us out, for us, by us. And so the first question of the day is, when was the first time you saw a woman doing what it is that you do, or a woman musician? It could be professor, it could be band director. When was the first time? And just to add some context to that, who was it? And give us a little information about that. Put the church finger up if you want to go first. Not I.
I'll go. Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing? It was two kind of at the same time, because when I graduated from high school, I had a male director. Going into NCCU, I had a female director. Her name was Miss Robin Reeves at the time. She's now Robin Reeves Spruill. But as I left high school, not only did they transition from core to traditional, and I felt kind of some type of way, but it was also a Black female director to take over. And I was like, wow. She gave me the opportunity to write music for my high school band. So I kind of had her name is Michelle Peterson Purcell. I'm a Fayetteville State grad, clarinet and trombone specialist. And then Miss Reeves at the same time. So I got to go there and then go to college and see that. It was amazing. I mean, you coming from a predominantly white high school, and as soon as you leave, to have an African American woman there when you leave, but still being able to write with her and things like that, that was cool for me. So I would say those two were the first two that I saw, and I saw them at the same time.
So college is what you're saying. College. Ooh. Anybody have a different well, of course you're gonna have something different, but when was the first time? Miss Davis, it looked like you got the church. You threw your finger up, but I was volunteering you.
I'm gonna mute myself. Hey everybody, how y'all doing? When I first read y'all question, I was like, I can't think of anybody because I had all males. But when I was thinking, like this year is my first year teaching elementary music, so I'm not teaching band. This is my 24th year teaching, but my first year teaching music for the littles. And so I was thinking, well, what were some of the things my elementary music teacher did? And I couldn't remember a music teacher in elementary school. So then I got to thinking, I was like, well, when was the first time I took a music class? Well, actually, it was in the 7th grade that I remember. 6th grade, I took art. I always knew I liked music. I tried to get in music 5th grade, but my mom, couldn't afford to get a violin, so they kicked me out that class. And so when I got to 6th grade, I picked art. Then my mom decided to transfer me to 7th grade to another school, Capital Middle School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And so when I got there, I don't know if they had art or they didn't have art, but I didn't take it. I ended up getting into the chorus class. And so my chorus teacher, that was the first music class I ever had. She was, her name was Miss Belta Cross, Miss Cross. I didn't know her first name. I know her first name now because like her daughter and I are friends on Facebook. And I was like, oh yeah, I know her. That's my chorus teacher. That's your mom. But anyway, her name is Miss Cross. And I remember we had a chorus program. Well, we had a program at the school. So, when you have morning programs, everybody got to go, to the music room to get ready, get set up. So we were in there and she was rehearsing the band. And so I remember I was looking, I was like, oh, she does band. I never knew she did the band too. I didn't know it was my first year there. And so that was the first time I ever took music and the first female director that I ever saw, but I never gave it a second thought because when I was in high school, all my band directors were male. I didn't see another female director until I started teaching, and she was a former director of the job that I took over, so she and I didn't talk. And then I met a couple of middle school directors, but then the first college director I met was Miss Sanders, and at Norfolk State University. And I was like, "Oh wow, you're a college band director." And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh wow, that is so awesome," because I had never seen it. And I had been teaching at that time probably 10, 11 years, and I had never seen like a female band director on the collegiate level. But I was going to say, because of Miss Cross, my interest in music grew because I wanted to continue music in high school. But my mom moved, and the new school that I went to they didn't offer chorus to high school students, to ninth graders, and that's when I started band. So yeah, Miss Cross, which was my chorus teacher, was the one that got me into music. But everything that happened in my life kind of happened by accident. Like even the fact of me going to Southern University, I was supposed to go to Central Oklahoma for college.
Uh-oh, don't say that out loud.
Well,
you do know you're a juke, right?
Yes. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, I wasn't even supposed to go here. Like, and so when they asked me, well, why you want to be in the band? I was like, well, wherever I ended up going, I was going to be in the band. I'm sorry y'all don't have girls in the band, but what kind of music teacher would I be if I didn't take band on the college level? But anyway, that's how that happened. But it was just all by chance. So I did actually get my first start in music with with my choir teacher, but she was also the band director, and I just thought it was normal. I didn't think nothing of it actually. So yeah, that's my side of my story.
So recap, you had been in the game, seasoned teacher by the time you saw someone kind of on the
Yes,
level. That's crazy. In civil, you
yes.
you you were in college. Um, my story's a little different. Um, and the moral of the story is, you know, Southern isn't everybody's first choice. Ooh. um, no, but see, you came from good stock and you got good experience. And I've heard your name before I even met you. I said, oh, this must be a dope sister in the band room because I've heard her name. Um, what about you, Lauren? When's your first time, if there is a first?
Oh boy. Good evening, everybody. Hello, lovely ladies. So, my first time having a woman band director was actually in middle school. Now, Krystal, I know you said to say people's names, but I don't want to say her name because she was not good. Yeah, so in
Nice
middle
choice.
school, I went to probably a school with the top performing arts in Baltimore County, Sudbrook Magnet Middle School. And we had a very good orchestra. We had a full orchestra in middle school. We had a full orchestra. We had a wind ensemble, concert band, and symphonic band. So we had three band programs. We had a choir, I think two different choirs, and an orchestra. We had full orchestra and string orchestra. So yeah, we had the works, then we had dance. We had like a full performing arts wing at my school. So this particular band director, I got her in seventh grade. I made it into the middle ensemble. At that time, I was playing oboe. So the middle ensemble was a symphonic band. So the top wind ensemble, what the wind band, the top wind band was wind ensemble, then symphonic band, then concert band was mostly for sixth graders. Um, and she was not a good example of a band director because she had a lot going on in her life, and she used to cry on the podium, and we know things about her personal life that really students should know about their teachers. Like I remember we went to Music in the Parks, which is in at Hershey Park in Pennsylvania. So the orchestra made first place. Out of all the orchestral ensembles, the wind ensemble made second place out of all the ensembles. Symphonic band, we made seventh place. And went back and she cried about that. And yeah, she just was not good. Um, and I heard she went to, and mind you, this was a mixed middle school. It wasn't, like a bunch of kids being bad and running around and stuff. We just looked like confused when she started crying on the podium. Um, and yeah, I heard she transferred to a high school, predominantly African American high school. And I said, if you can't handle us, honey, you can't. Yeah, you
Emotional
couldn't.
damage.
Yeah, you couldn't handle them. Woodlawn High School, which then was wild. We called them Hoodlawn. So yeah, that was that. Um, Also in middle school, I had another woman band director. I went to a concert band camp from my the summer of my seventh going to eighth grade year, which was pretty cool. Now, she's a Morgan State grad. Her name is Dr. Penelope Martin Knox, and she was pretty good. She was a good director. She was the band director at Deer Park Middle School. So, like Subbrook and Deer Park kind of had a little rival with the concert bands because she, an African American director, actually had a better ensemble than Sudbrook at one point. We were supposed to be the top, so she was on point and very good clarinet player. I remember she played. Her and some other band directors had played like in a little ensemble in front of the kids in the wind ensemble camp, which is cool. And then in high school, I remember having a church gig with her. I'm not sure. No, somebody else was conducting it, but I actually played with her. So I had like a bad experience with the woman band director and then a good experience. Since since middle school, I haven't had any woman band directors. They're all male, all you know, all in Kappa Kappa Psi. Most of them came from the same chapter. Um, and because they're all male, I actually didn't hear. I knew about Kappa Kappa Psi before I knew about TBS. Long before about TBS. So it kind of made an impact. I was like, wait a minute, there's a woman version of this organization. So it just it changed the way I view things. And
Representation matters.
yeah, it does. Even in college, like leadership was male. I will say at high school, our drum majors, we had girl drum majors, but in college, everybody was male. The staff, band staff, everybody. The only person that was female was like the bookkeeper and the person that was over the instruments and the band, the support
Other
staff,
duties
the
as
band boosters.
assigned.
Yeah. So I didn't see any woman band directors until way after I graduated, when I saw the likes of Stephanie Saunders and Dr. Roebuck, and yeah, like way later. I didn't even know there were collegiate band directors, at least on the HBCU realm, as as women band directors. So yeah, that's my experience.
That's like crazy, because it's either like all of us are kind of, within that, we call it in that same kind of age range. And it's crazy. Like most of us didn't have direct contact with somebody beyond like a lower level band until we were like well into our adulthood, like even like knowing other Black women band directors, like high school and up, is crazy to me. And the unfortunate thing, like I hear the stereotype all the time about it's because we're not good. And like Laura, I understand, like sometimes you don't even want to like out a bad band director that's a woman, because it kind of feeds into that narrative that they suck. Like we just, and on Talk That Talk, Luke was talking about, Rick was talking was talking about how we get the bottom barrel struggle bus program, and then people think we should like make a miracle happen, and then when we can't, we suck. So like I don't know if that affects the representation. For me, my very first band director was a woman. My elementary school band director was a woman. She her by the name of Miss Brumbar. My husband actually, well, like she was that band director that floated over like several schools. Got pulled out, and you went there like once a week or something like that. And she played trombone, and it was really cool because we played like music that I knew. Like once we worked in the method book, but like we played stuff that was like relevant to where I'm from. I'm from Prince George's County, so I'm in Redskins Nation, or the Washington, team. I can't remember what the new name is, but
Commanders.
Okay, I don't know. We don't win that much. That's all I know. We'll be winning like that. So I only knew like a band director that was a woman, like out the gate. And then I got to 6th grade, and then I had Roosevelt Pratt, which is crazy because most people associate Pratt with North Carolina, but his first years teaching, fresh out of college, fresh out of A&T, he was in Prince George's County in a kind of, affluent area in Fort Washington. And like he introduced me to like HBCU style band. And that was really a good introduction to it because he has high standards for music or whatever. But I don't recall him being like, oh, you're a girl, this is what you do. Like I always had an inclusive environment from the start, which I can't say a lot of women musicians do from the start, or even like going up the ladder. And I feel like, he shaped me. But I think having that woman band director like first, really, I never had confidence issues. Um, I didn't have those confidence issues. I just didn't. And then I got to college, and then the metrics look different. You know, there's only one Black woman band director at high school I knew for at least 20 years of my life. And that is my husband's band director, high school band director. She was high school band director for like 30 years in Prince George's County. Her name, infamously known as Hop, Patricia Hopkins, but nobody calls her that. They all call her Hop. And she was no nonsense. And I was like, man, that's the type of band director I want to be. Like, she was kicking butt, taking names. She wasn't intimidated by anybody. You know, her group was, you know, the top group in the area, notoriously for not, you know, like a long time. And I know, Cybil, you got some data on another high school program that kind of had that same type of notoriety, but she was the only one for a long time. And there's this sense of like this only one that it's kind of unfathomable, because you sit next to musicians, you know, it's college, you sit next to great musicians. I love that about being at an HBCU where everybody looks like you, but then it's something that happens when you go beyond college where the numbers just kind of fall off, or we become elementary school, and that's nothing wrong with it. So that leads me to this next leading question. How do you think that shaped you? Like, good or bad? How do you think that shaped you? Like, having interaction with a woman band director or not at all?
I will say initially at NCCU, I didn't always see eye to eye with my band director, my female band director. I think as women, when you are the only one, or like that needle in a haystack, sometimes you try to prove yourself to everybody, the men and women in the organization. And I love her if she's listening. But you know, it was abrasive with the women. And that again might have been because, you know, she felt she had to do that in order to hold that position. And I can only imagine. But I did learn from that, because after I graduated, you know, I had John Reed after her. She was there for 2 years, and then Mr. Reed came in, and I had him for the last 2 years. So it wasn't until after I graduated that I understood why she was that way, because I started being that way too. But I said I have to find a balance. You know how we get already the angry Black woman title as it is, and we mean no harm. But I did learn from her. Don't get it twisted. It's just our initial interactions. It was just it just seemed like, you know, I wasn't really, you know, I don't know, wanted. I did want to be a band director, you know what I'm saying? But again, if we're the only one in that needle in the haystack, sometimes in the back of our head, we want to remain that only one. And sometimes we do things to maybe discourage. Not saying that's what it was. I was young, but I'm just saying. And how that inspired me is I said, I'm going to do this anyway. I wasn't even a music major when I got there. I changed to music major when I became a junior.
I just learned something about you, Cybil. So you're a late bloomer with the music game.
That's and still kind of graduated on time. I was still doing music related things and taking music classes, but I came in as a criminal justice major. I wanted to
listen, sis, I don't know how you did that. How'd you catch up with all those little 1 credit classes they be giving us, trying to make us crazy? And it's just like overcompensation. And sometimes I feel like we don't talk about like women having egos, because that's kind of taboo. Like, that's like a male trait, band director trait. But like, for me personally, sometimes I feel like I have to have an ego because with that emotes confidence. And like when we don't have anyone representing us, we like model ourselves after what we see, which in turn can be is other band directors. And for me, that was Black male band directors, old school Black male band directors. So that abrasiveness I sing in my early career, I sure had it. Meet Me on the 50 said, you had Lisa Brooks at Parkdale. I remember I I didn't know much about Parkdale because Parkdale is like North PG, and I'm like from South PG. And so even though we were in the same district, like Eddie Evans is from Prince George's County. That county is so big. When we had festival, it was split. So my husband, a lot of people went to Morgan with me. They were from Northern PG, and then there's people who are from like Southern PG, Oxon Hill, Temple Hill, Suitland, and then you got people who are from like Parkville, where I teach now, Northwestern. And so there's another woman band director, both for those women band directors in the same region. My region didn't have any. So what I had to model myself after was what I saw college every day was, here's this strong Black male opinionated band director that's blunt. Melvin and Miles is blunt, but yeah, you can make that face, Lauren. I know you in grad school. See, I'm used to it now. And sometimes I'm very blunt like that. Now, I wasn't like that coming in, but by the time I came out having to kind of fight for like respect, because there's that stereotype. Oh, you're gonna be a band director. Oh, people used to tell me, oh, you'll be in elementary school. I was like, the devil is a liar. I don't like little kids like that. So that I feel like Cybil, it maybe shaped you in a good way, but then maybe not, and that's how it is sometimes. Sometimes a bad experience or a not so good experience shapes us to be better than that experience. What about you, Ms. Davis? The question again, how did or didn't having like a woman kind of guiding you, lead you, affect you think?
I never really gave it much thought because I don't know, maybe it had something to do with my background. Like I attended 15 different schools before I graduated from high school. So I was just always boom, new place, observe, a new place, observe. And so once I got into band, I didn't think of it being a gender specific area. Because even when I started on trumpet, the only reason why I picked trumpet because they didn't have the chorus class, and like, oh, you could take beginning band. And then when I got in beginning band, I was in the class with 5th and 6th graders, and I was like, I want to hurry up and get out of this class. So I'm going to pick the trumpet because it only has 3 buttons and I can learn that the fastest. But that wasn't necessarily the case. Now I know that. I didn't know that at the time. But I was just going to say, I didn't really, it was a lot of stuff. I was like this naive type of person because I didn't think that anything was gender specific, like the trumpet, being a band director. I only realized that until I started working, and it was like I want to say like a level of disrespect for me as a band director, and it came from my other band directors. I always got this connotation that women should be only middle school band directors. But for me, that wasn't the case because my first job, I taught middle and high school. Like I said, everything just happened for me like by chance. Wasn't asking to go get these certain positions, but God made a way. Like I didn't even want to teach. Somebody told me, oh, that was your calling. I was like, really? But I've been doing it ever since. But I wanted to be a music producer, but I needed a job. And my mom was like,
those needed a paycheck.
Right, my mom was like, them people need a band director. And I was like, Mama, they ain't gonna hire me. Man, them people hired me, and I've been teaching band ever since. But the thing of it is, I'm just bringing it up to say, all these experiences happen for a reason. And so when I did realize, people looked at me like that, I explained to my students, y'all have, strikes against you. And one is because of me. One, I'm brown. Two, I'm a female. Three, we're from the south side of Columbus. So they're going to look at us differently. And so I always felt like I couldn't be as good as, I had to be better than, just to get the respect that any other band director would get just by being a male. And so although I didn't have a female to shape me as a band director, I had a lot of male directors. Like Mr. Jackson was actually my college director and my high school band director, because I went to Clinton High School. And Dr. Oliver Boone, who was in Columbus, he was my band director as well. And what I got from both of them was they didn't care that I was a female on trumpet. They kind of respected the fact that, oh, she knows her music. I know she's a new student, but we're gonna put her up on first, or we're gonna put her in the third seat. Even though I didn't deserve that, because these other guys have been there for 4 years, they still respected my talent. And so I just thought that's all I needed was my talent. And that's what I went forward with. But like I said, once I started working in the field, other band directors would come and, it was like, oh, you're a high school director? I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with that? And it's still like that now, because like I was in this area and, they feel like women should just be teaching middle school. And I never understood that. And I was like, that's not right. Some women can, or some women do. It's no point in can. And I think they make better band directors because as women, we pay attention to more details, and the details that shape our bands. We want to make sure everybody looks the same. We want to make sure everybody has the same shoe, the same socks. That we're just meticulous like that, because of our nature. And we're nurturers. So, we tend to be the mothers of those band students. And, I'm not saying, men can't, because I know a lot of us reach out to our male directors.
But it is different. It's
right,
different.
Right. And
it's not bad different either. It's just different.
Right. And so that's what I was going to say about that.
So I'm learning more about you every podcast. One, what I picked up of you be just falling into stuff. Because, the Lord be blessing you. You said, I'm going to Southern because, I need to go to school to get a degree. I need a job, so I'm going to teach. Oh, I got a high school gig. All right, I'm gonna be a beast at that. Listen, I wish I had that type of, I don't know. I maybe I'm fighting too much to get somewhere. Maybe I just need to sit back and let God do his work. But it's crazy how, and you talked about a little bit like tutelage, somebody to guide you. And when you don't have someone to guide you, you just kind of have to figure it out as you go. I think for women, sometimes when it comes to things like that, we figure out, we have much strife in figuring it out. Whereas I don't know if the men, I don't know if they struggle that way. I mean, I'm not a man. Even though, sometimes that's the go-to when somebody disagree with me and then they like all of a sudden I'm a man, like, all right, cut that out. But I don't think they, just speaking band director wise, I think when most of the representation are male, they tend to take their male students under their wing and like help, push the little bird out the nest, but like a little more gently. I feel like my ass got thrown out and you just got to like, oh, I have wings, flap them. Nope, that's the wrong way, crash. And like, I think sometimes that stereotype that we suck sometimes comes from a lack of tutelage, a lack of mentorship. Like, I'm just figuring it out. And then by the time we figure out, maybe we need to ask for help. Maybe we need to reach out. We got a lot of stigmas with asking for help. So with that being said, do you think the relationship we have with our directors is the same that our male counterparts, especially if you had a male director at a significant part of your career. I'm trying not to read any. Yeah, tell sidebar, tell Jay that I'm from PG, so stop saying two to me. That's my sidebar. I don't know. Do y'all think that the relationship is the same for us with our band directors and men? I don't know. I'm gonna say yes, no.
I will say that even though I was musically inclined, I don't think my band directors looked at me and said, "You know what? I think you would make a good music teacher." Or like nobody ever said that to me. So I see what you mean when you say that. I don't think they, showed me, "Oh, hi, this is how you arrange this," or "This is how you would teach this," or even let us get on the podium. That wasn't ever influence. But I know, like Lauren mentioned, we did have high school drum majors that were female. So the girls she would get on the podium from time to time, as the drum major. So I'm not sure that did I answer the question.
No, you did. You I mean, even if it's you're not sure, like I'm gonna be real transparent. And I love Morgan State. I love, I love being a Bear. People always come for us like we don't like the school we went to. I love the school I went to. It made me me. It made me. I'm on a podcast, so I feel like it did something. But I feel like I got treated the same as the guys, and I appreciate that. I feel like Melvin and Miles, you have to prove yourself to Melvin and Miles, and your gender ain't got sugar honey iced tea to do with it. Like, you have to prove that you know your music. You have to prove that you know how to play. If you're a music major, you have to prove that you understand theory. And there's always a test. Like, there's always a test of your knowledge. Like, if you sit in that ensemble and you are studying music, the questions fly like it's a panel. Anytime. Middle of a song. What mode is that? Middle of the song. What key is that? Where is this going? What's the style? And Lauren is sitting in that seat right now. And it's kind of intense because where you think you're just sitting in an ensemble, you're actually sitting in an ensemble in a classroom, kind of like always defending a thesis. And the thesis statement of today is, are you good at this? Are you trying to be good at this? Or are you BSing? And he'll call you on the BS quick. And so for me, I kind of appreciated being handled that way. It does make you develop some real thick skin sitting real close to Melvin and Miles. You go in that office, and I think it was purposeful because as a director, you have to be strong. I feel like Lauren's middle school band director was lacking maybe some tutelage, like some strength that you might need to get. Someone imparts that strength on you versus you figuring it out, flying out the nest, wings flapping, don't know how to fly, but you trying. And trying isn't good enough in our field, especially now, social media. You have to know. People see you in front of somebody on a podium. People see you sitting first chair. People see you better know. And if you're a woman, you better know. So I like being handled like with this kind of, what the hell you doing? Did you study this? Like, I appreciated not being baby, but I also feel like I still was shaped the same way as my male counterparts. I don't have any feelings like I wasn't, and I never had that feeling coming up in music. It wasn't until I was a director or I was in the field where people questioned often what I can do. But as far as being under somebody, I sincerely think that I was shaped. I feel like I was shaped. And my husband's band director is my mentor now. Hop, I call Hop. Hop is my band director. I don't care what my husband thinks. Yeah, that's his band director, but that's my band director because Hot will call me and be like, don't take that for so and so. Tell them this or do this. And that's still at my age of 41. It's still doing what it needs to do. It's still edifying me and strengthening me as a woman in a very male dominated field. What about you, Lauren? Hot topic. I know.
Yeah, this question is very loaded, especially.
It is.
I've been in actually, 3 different band programs. I went to St. Augustine's first, college first, now university, and transferred to North Carolina Central. And if you guys don't know, Cybil is my chapter soror, so we march for the same band program. I love my sound machine or marching sound machine or everybody in the NCCU band multiverse. I feel like the relationship with the band director, from the male to the female, from men to women, it was different because a lot of the women, seemingly when I first got there, they were not the best musicians. And, they were disrespected, in different ways. So I guess they weren't taken seriously. All we did was pass out music and water and pamphlets and stuff. I feel like I love my college band director. I really do love Jerome Reed. But he also wanted to know if you were serious about doing music in the future. So it seemed like when people got to the podium, it was more of a boys club. Or let me preface it by saying this. When I went into college, I was never interested in being a band director because it's a hard job. It is hard. I don't understand how anybody, especially these these internet band directors, these couch band directors, think you can go in and just do certain things. And as for me, coming into college, I've seen my high school band director go through some things. I've seen my college band director go through some things. Well, both of them, all of them, really. I've seen them all, working in the office sometimes. Like you see things and you hear things. And for me, especially being the lead of the biggest organization on campus, it is quite intimidating. You always have to be on your P's and Q's. I've watched Mr. Reed get sick. We've all watched him. We watched him get sick. He actually suffered from renal failure one year. It's not an easy task. So I preface it by saying it. So those who wanted it got the opportunity to go on the podium. I didn't want to be a band director. I wanted to be a performer. But what I will say is, I wish there were more of us that took a chance, like Cybil. I feel like she is one of the few in our band, few women from our band program that took that leap. When Reed found out I was graduating, he panicked because he actually threw me on the podium. He kind of, like you said, Krystal, they just kind of throw you out there. He was like, "You're graduating this semester?" I said, "Yeah." So he put me on the podium, and I was terrible, but I was only on the podium one time. And I think now that's why now in my graduate school studies, I'm taking conducting. Still no interest in being a band director, but for somebody that wants to maybe possibly start a community ensemble, I need to know how to conduct. And I feel like that one-on-one time that I have with Mr. Miles is helpful. I do feel like he does quiz everybody up. Mr. Miles treats everybody the same. It's different, and it's not at Morgan and it was at NCCU. And it's not a bad different. It's just different. At Morgan, they make sure you know everything. They treat it's more of a conservatory mindset at Morgan. So you have to know everything. I feel like Mr. Reed wanted to get us to that level Unfortunately, I feel like with NCCU, we weren't on that conservatory mindset, but he did bring the program to a point where we were noticeable people. We had a good, well, yeah, we had an excellent concert band program. He brought us up to knowledge because he told us all the time, this isn't like the state of North Carolina when it comes to music. It's not known for music. So he wanted us to be at least at level with our colleagues from other schools. Um, yeah, I'm like, and Shell, like, did I even answer the question? Because it's just so much
No, you answered it.
behind it. It's so
and
much.
that perspective. One, you've had two college directors and one was a woman. Three. Now, okay.
And none of them were men. When I went to, none of them were women.
Yeah.
At St. Aug, I had Dr. Jeffries, the late Dr. Jeffries at St. Augustine's College. And he had a system. He was pretty good. I was actually, I will say, I don't know, women were treated the same as the men in that program. Like, we were the librarians. The women were the librarians, while the men, they could play in the jazz band and do different things.
I think
Like, they could go to IMA,
regional.
but I couldn't go to IMA. So that was a big problem that I had.
I don't know. I think we've kind of exposed like some regional differences. Like, as David's like, every time you answer, I feel like your location comes up a lot. Like, you're in a place where music matters. Like, you don't talk about your great state and not think about music. You talk about my state, we are on the other end of the spectrum. Like, y'all got bands there, like, and so I think for us, opportunity is there because we don't have competition. Like, in my district alone, my former district, there are more high school band directors than male high school band directors. And those women are at the top programs in the district. And that's how it's been for a while, 20 years almost now. Like, if I can think about it, everybody I know that's a woman band director in Baltimore City are at like the coveted schools. However, it seems like you go like somewhere between Virginia to like South Carolina, it seems like it gets flipped and it's still a little bit old school. I think that's like a little bit of the South kicking in, like just the Southern mindset and kind of like a little antiquated. But then I think when you get to like Louisiana, everybody just loves band and wants band to survive because band is culturally a little bit more robust. And so I feel like some of this is a little bit of region, how your experience is. Like I said, when nobody's checking for you, they'll hire women. And that's how I feel like I got my job. Like, nobody wanted to teach in Baltimore City. So the world is our oyster. We can just go and take over it, but in a good way. But I don't know if the outcome is the same if I went to like the Carolinas. I don't know. Mimi on the 50 said something. Do you think in single parent households, women have an advantage because there are a lot of single parent households, or when that's the majority of, I guess, maybe your band, that the respect is different for women versus men? I don't know.
Yeah,
go ahead.
When I read that, was another one I had read before he made that comment about the females getting the same respect as a male. But I was gonna say, being in a band director role is kind of like the coach's role. And so the kids see, okay, this is the adult that's in charge. And I've never had an issue with just getting the respect because I was a female, but I did come into contact with young males who wanted to, bump heads with everything I would have, to say to my band. And in one instance, I took the little boy outside and I was like, hey, I'm sorry I'm a female, but I'm the band director. And you're going to need to do what I'm asking you to do. And I just looked at him like, I don't know what sorry, this is what you got. This is what you have. Let's move on. Like, I'm doing this for you. And all you want to do is just, give me the blues. And then after that, I had no more trouble out of that young man. And, even his mom.
You got in his business. That's what happened.
I was like, I'm sorry I'm a female, but I'm your band director. This is the job that it entails. It's my job to tell you what you need to do. And after that, we didn't have any trouble. But his the lady who he lived with, she mentioned to me, like, they come up for the teacher-parent conference. So, like, oh yeah, he has a problem with women in authority. I was like, oh, does he? Okay. Well, that explains why. I had to take him outside and have that conversation. So that's the thing I would deal with, with people. Oh, I ain't listening to you. You a girl. What? No. Sorry. This is the job that it entails, these authoritative roles. And so regardless, you're going to have to do what I asked you to do. And that was with the high school levels. Now, I was going to say, when you mentioned about region, I started band in Louisiana, but when I moved to Georgia, so like, yeah, all of this is in the South, but I've noticed the same trends. Like in Georgia, when I was a high school band director, I was the only female director in Columbus, Georgia at that time for 7 years, where we had 2 middle school directors that were female. And in Louisiana, I was probably one of the only female band directors in there. Even though I was teaching in Jackson, Louisiana, and Port Allen, Louisiana, when I would travel, I would hardly ever see another female band director. Like, I would take my bands to New Orleans or whatever. And then when I moved to Texas is where, they had no problem saying, giving you that
That's
idea.
Like band,
only
band,
right.
It's just band land.
Only teach middle school. And I was like, oh, this what y'all do? Okay. But I was saying, they had high school band directors that were female. They were really, really good. They were really good. Like, you almost have to, because they probably wouldn't even hire a female. But the ones that I knew that taught high school were really good. And if they weren't good, they were like, oh, maybe she needs to go teach middle school. But then I don't like that either, because what they fail to realize, middle school is where we lay the foundation for these kids to be great musicians. So why not respect all middle school directors? That's the hardest job, if you ask me. It was easy to teach high school.
That middle school daddy. That's not
middle
my ministry.
School, you don't know nothing. You ain't know how to hold an instrument.
They nasty. They stink. I don't like them. You
gotta read on there for 6 months, like for 3 months. It's turning black, and I'm telling you, take that thing off. But I have all respect to middle school directors. Like, high school band directors wouldn't be where they are if they didn't have these people doing such a great job on their level. They kind of make the high school director's job a little more easier when they do have feeder schools. But I was gonna mention, that's kind of, Louisiana and Georgia were pretty much the same. I even taught in Alabama for 2 years, and I never saw another female director. Now, I've been teaching since '98, so it's probably changed.
You look good, though. You look good.
Oh, thank you.
Because teaching, my hair is white to hide gray. With that sole purpose was to hide gray. It's crazy.
Oh no, Cybil's raised her hand. I wanted to answer that question.
Oh, well, let me shut up. Let me get out the way. Cybil, Lauren, whoever, y'all, I don't know. Y'all rock, paper, scissors. I don't know.
Look, I'll answer. I kind of indulge Eddie's question, because that first woman band director experience, I come from a single parent home, but also I come from a family of like strong women. And having her just cry on the podium, I'm like, oh my God, lady, just please teach us. I just want to play. Like, So I didn't
Dang,
respect her.
we need a sound effect for crying band directors.
Yes, like how are you gonna cry on the podium? That's the worst place to cry. Like cry in your office, cry in your car. Do what you have to do. Do not cry on that podium because you lose everybody. Like I used to have band directors that would bully principals, and you cry on the podium. But no, like seriously. So, um, so I guess coming from a single parent home, I didn't grow up with my dad, so I consider my high school band director, Mr. Golf. I consider him my dad. So that it does it matters. I consider Jerome Reed a dad. That it really does matter coming from a single parent household because especially the band directors. I think Takaya said it last week. You have your math teacher for like 1 or 2 semesters. Bands, you have them for 4 years, so the relationship is special. From like I said, from a male to a man to woman perspective, I'm trying not to say male to female. I only have one woman band director, Dr. Martin Knox. She was my band director for like a summer band camp. She was cool, but the band director I had for a whole year, she wasn't effective. So, I was nice to her. I was respectful to her, but I didn't respect her, if that makes sense.
So I want to talk
feel
about
on
this.
that.
I want to kind of tag on this band director a little bit because this band director ended up at the high school that one of my good friends is the band director at now. And the stories I heard, because I started out writing for them because I didn't have a high school. So I wanted to write for high school. So I wrote their fight song and I was writing, still arranged for them. Even when I had my own program, I would slide them some arrangement daddies up in there. I'm gonna keep slipping these daddies in. They gotta get more fluid. But so I went in the band room, like doing band camp, and there were shoes all the way up at the top of the bedroom, like listen, don't laugh. That's ugly, Lord. Okay, laugh because it's they were a pair of women's shoes. Like, okay, so I'm originally from Southeast DC, and 80s kids in Southeast DC, you will often see like a pair of Chuck Taylors. You like a pair of Chucks thrown over the why? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Like movies do it all the time. Like they throw back, yeah. Well, the shoes were on the light fixture like that. And that was the first thing I saw. Like, why them shoes up there like that? And so, Robert Holland, that's the band director at Woodlawn High School, said, oh, they didn't like her at all. And I was like, they threw her shoes? I was like, her shoes?
I wouldn't even blame them because she was that bad. Like,
these kids had nothing good to say. Like, and I did hear the stories, kind of the same thing of like, she was having whole meltdowns. And you know what? Like, mental health is real. Mental health is real. And teaching can take you there. And I always said to myself, when I had those days as a musician, as a music major, in band, in the HBCU, like those days get tough. You get overwhelmed. We all have Greek letters. Like it get tough. But what I always said to myself, I will never cry in front of these people. Like I just can't. They'll never respect me. And I think it comes from like knowing that if you show emotion like what they stereotype women as, we'll never get like any respect. Like we gotta wear that cloak, and you cry in your car, you go cry in your dorm, but don't go cry at home, go in the teacher lounge, shut the bathroom door, like, but never like have a breakdown. And her days were probably numbered in middle school. But she had the complexion for the protection. Y'all know what I mean.
It wasn't even a bad middle school. That's the point. Like the middle school wasn't bad. If she could have handled us, Woodlawn was just
for real, it just wasn't for her. But like, let's be real, as women, would we have gotten to high school as Black women after kind of botching middle school? You think, Cybil, Cybil, like, sis, no. Go ahead, Cybil. If you got something to add to this, I just wanted to shed some light on that.
So wow, all of this is just, I'm trying to compute everything. I speak through music, not a talker, so I'm gonna try to say something. But I will say where I'm at currently, at Hillside, I'm the 8th band director and the first female. The first director was there in the 1950s, Mr. William Cole. Then we had Fillmore Shirley Hall. Then we go to, after Joseph Mitchell, Clark Edgerton, who was there for 30 years. He's the man. He just passed away last year. But they were all heavy hitters, well known in the community, well known in the country, stellar band programs. Then Xavier Case, and some of you may have heard that name, came after him. But the point I'm making here is it was unheard of. Nobody would have thought a woman, much less a Black woman, would be the band director at that school. So that was a lot of pressure as it is. Interesting enough, Mr. Kaysen is the one who vouched for me. I also did my student teaching under him, but he was also the director before Miss Reeves took over at Central. He vouched for her too. This is a man right here. So what I'm saying is, men who are secure about themselves, they will vouch for you. If you're a woman and you are the one man, they're gonna say that's the one. He did it for her. He did it for me. Sometimes younger male directors are not secure. And all I'll say is, when I got to Norfolk State, Mr. Adams was amazing. He is the man. For him to open his band room doors up and allow me to arrange for that band and just treat me like gold, I was like, wow, this man must be really secure in himself. I'm not saying I didn't get a positive treatment at Central, but I feel like the red carpet was rolled out at Norfolk. And again, I think it's a security thing. So to answer the question about are the relationships the same between like female and male, male and female, I think it's a security thing. With Mr. Adams, he's a much older guy. So it was kind of like a cross between, he wanted to be my father, but he also wanted to be my teacher. I wasn't as vocal until I got there. I would not open my mouth. He was always like, I can't wait to see that Black woman come out of you. I need you to say something. He would use abrasive language, do this, do that. That type of stuff I didn't receive prior. And I don't think I would have been as forward as I am now if I hadn't attended Norfolk State. Now, Miss Sanders is there too now. I studied clarinet with her, but more so being in the band room and her conducting the band and how she can take music that's so blank on the page and make that stuff pop. She did more teaching without even talking to me than you could imagine. I learned so much from her. And again, she is not insecure. She does not care. She will give you whatever you want. And it's all about that security thing. So I'm happy I had that experience. And I do think the relationships can be different, more so where the women are still nurturing, but they'll teach you. And the men are more like your father if they feel like you're worth something, but they still teach as well.
I think that's dope, Cybil. I feel like you had like that balance. I feel like it's like having a 2-parent household, and that's not knocking single parent households, but you get different perspectives on how to be as a person, as a director. Like I feel like Miles was like that with me. Like I'm telling y'all, I didn't talk in high school. I didn't talk in middle school. I didn't talk like this. Like I have friends in social media, like, who the hell is this person? You talk, you use words. Like I was not that person. And that came from being with the older Black male band director that was this fathering. And I feel like Lauren, I know all of Lauren's band directors that because they all came from Morgan, and they all have that kind of that principle. Like, I'm gonna pull greatness out of you, even if you don't see it in yourself. And I think that balance is good too. And I think you have a unique situation where you had a woman who was accomplished too, that you could get a a lot out of. And I think that's why you at Hillside. And you're doing it and people respect your program. Like, I respect it, and it's not because I know you. Like, before I knew Cybil Haskins was over Hillside, I knew Hillside. And I said, Hillside, oh, they got a band. As Black people, we got to double the word to make it more meaningful. You got band. Y'all kids can play. And I was like, I like my kids to be like that.
Band daddy.
See, look, Jay, we coming, we ready. We getting all the words in. But that tutelage is important. Those relationships are important. This is not a conversation that we don't think women in the field, music major, performance major, we need guidance. I don't think it always happens equitably. One of my mentors, Walter Harley, says it's always about the conversations that happen when you're not around. It's not the decisions that get made in your presence. It's about the conversations when you're not in someone's presence. And having an older band director, they will talk you up. Ron Carter called Melvin Miles after after Midwest. It was like, who's that young lady that came from your program? And he must have talked great things about me. It was like, oh, that's one of my best, and I was flattered. I was like, that's what you think of me? But that comes, you earned that. That's not given. That's not because you're a woman. That's not because you are not. That's because you have done the work. And Lauren, like, I feel like, and we had this conversation all the time, I feel like as a music major, when it comes to performance, that's a whole nother animal. Like, it's a whole nother animal as a performance major, because that has its BS with it too. Hillside got a band. Lauren, I'm gonna stop reading your comments. But there is one more conversation that Jamie Phillips talks about this all the time. We talk about this all the time. I agree with this. Do you think more men should invite women in the field to be in front of their program? Because there's a trend, and I'm going to say it publicly. We get invited to work your sections, particular woodwind, if that's our major. I have yet to see a lot of women be asked to work a group on brass, and I can almost say I've never seen it percussion. I can say that personally. I've seen a lot of women get called to, hey, come work my flutes, come work my clarinets, come work my my woodwinds, but never come work my group. Why, y'all? Why, men? Why, fellas? If we getting all ones at adjudication and festival MPAs, why you not call? You'll call us. I feel like we get booty calls for band. Hey, how you finger F sharp? Hey, you got this, I'm from, I live in Baltimore, so I'm gonna speak a little Baltimoreese, like a fiend. You got them fingering charts.
We are their band connect. We are their woodwind connect, because a lot of us are on woodwind instruments.
What you got for us? You got this, and then you see them implement it, because social media, and not a shout out, like not a nothing. This is like, I'm great. Look at my hands fly. And I'm like, where you get that at? So I don't know. Do you think they should be inviting us? And why do you think they don't, if they don't?
I think they don't. Probably based on like what Cybil was mentioning about them being confident in themselves. They probably don't want us to come in and do a better job than they do. You know how you bring in people and their kids like you better than they like their own director? So I'm going to church.
I'm sorry.
So I was thinking maybe it's because of that. The reason why they don't want to put us in front of an entire band to work their band, because I've known females to work bands, but like Cybil was saying, those guys are very confident in their own self. That they're not worried about being shown up per se. But I think that if they did expose their students to more female directors in front of the entire group, like in my situation, I never got a chance to have a female director in front of me, high school, college at all. And so now looking back, yeah, what if that had happened? Maybe my situation would have turned out a lot differently. And I'm not saying there's anything I would want to change, because I will say being a student at Southern University actually did shape me into the type of director that I am, although I didn't have any female influences on that level. But that's what I'm thinking it may be. And maybe they need to make a more conscious effort of finding females to put in front of their groups, because you never know if there's a young lady that may want to pursue that, but she never sees it, and so she can't conceive that thought of it if she doesn't see it herself on the high school or middle school level.
That's that representation, Daddy. I agree. You took me to church. I had to start the organ. And that's where Lauren just put it in the comments. That's where the Association of Black Women Band Directors came from. It came from a need. It came from, we need to see us, for us, by us. And, FUBU, or I can't even find an acronym that'll work. But it's just, we needed that. And we need for other young ladies to see that. And you don't have to be a woman to provide that for your students. It's okay, because guess what? We invite y'all. Just saying.
we invite people for their ears and their brains, not for their gender. Like, I've had directors tell me, you got a great ear. You know what I'm saying? So, will invite me. I see this other person with a great ear. It's a male, but its ear is an ear. The brain is a brain. So I love the fact that we are trying to, be, what's the word I'm looking for? More visual as women. Maybe they don't know that there are women directors out there. Maybe they don't know. Maybe they should be put out in the forefront so we can be chosen from. But at the same time, the women that's out there need to be good enough to be invited at the same time. But I guess all I'm saying is, if you can do it, you can do it. It shouldn't matter what what you got down low.
Lauren, what's the phrase? Good is good.
Good. Slaw is slaw. Thank you, Joan Council. Another chapter soror of ours. But what I was about to say, Cybil, she has invited me to her band camp. She's invited me to be on her band staff. I wish I could have completed my tutelage on her band staff, but the times, it was a time conflict for when I work. But Cybil is actually one of the people that will invite women music majors to her to do clinics with her sections. And not just women, if you're good on your instrument, Cybil will do that. So she's one of the few people, at least that I know, that will invite all both genders or all genders to the table. I've had people text me. Yeah, they actually, what's the finger in this? What's the finger in that? Can you show me? I had to send a video to one of my chapter bros of a fingering on clarinet, like a trill fingering, I think. But yeah, I just wanted to say, Cybil, I really do appreciate it, because you did kind of give me a chance in that realm. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Well, you're appreciated. She was able to do brass and woodwind, so that was like two birds with one stone. as seeing a female who's very, very competent in both. So thank you. We wish you could still be here, but I know you're up there with the Bears. To piggyback off of Anshelle, when she was saying that y'all, I got a brain fart. Oh yeah, that maybe male directors might feel like they will get shown up. Show me up, because I want my band to be good. I don't come on in. I want a superior. It shouldn't be about somebody. Why else would you if you bring a man in, you obviously bringing them in for a second opinion. The second opinion is what matters, not whether they show you up. Like, is this about your band's growth, or is it about your egos decreasing or something?
There's a confidence, though, as a woman director. I think when we make it, we don't care who's in front of our kids. Like, I really don't care. And I have to say to them, listen, this person I trust their words. I trust them to put them in front of you, respect them. But at the same time, devil's advocate, there's some people I would never put in front of my band, because your goal is not to edify the vision that I've set forth for my band. Your goal is to try to make it your band. And I've had to be very careful with band staff, my hair, my face. I've had to be, band staff. I've had to check some gentlemen, be like, I didn't tell you to do that with them. Why are you doing that? Like, that's not your place. And I'm not trying to be, but then comes the label, and then nobody wants to work with you. But I was like, you can work, men can work with their best friend, and their best friend will tell them off in the office, and they'll still show up. They'll still show up, and they'll get right, kind of fall right in line. But I've had situations where I get challenged. I'm like, listen, you ain't got no degree.
Listening to Janet Hoover, if you don't know who Janet Hoover is, she was dark skinned Aunt Viv. She said recently, in Hollywood, being considered difficult to work with as a Black woman is like the kiss of death. It's the same thing in a lot of other fields, and unfortunately, band is no exception. So, we're expected to seem like, oh, he knows more, or he knows something different. That he knows more, so I should just be quiet, even though you're the head band director. It shouldn't be that way. There should be different ways of teaching, different perspectives, not competing against each other, so the students will learn how to learn differently, how to think differently. Not all students don't learn the same, so to have that different perspective is what counts. Just like Cybil said, it's not about who knows more, who's the better clinician, or who's the better director. It's all about trying to get your program to a level to where they're pretty decent. So I think the problem is people don't, with the egos in the way, people don't know how to work together. You're supposed to work collectively regardless of gender. And yeah, that's all I have to say with that.
So you saying they got a big ego? It becomes I'm gonna use my words because we have to be ladies. I'm being sarcastic. As a phallus swinging contest and everything that comes with band. And I'm like, I ain't got one, so I can't swing it, but I can swing this knowledge. I can swing this baton. I can swing this pen, and women arrangers. That's a whole segment that I think we have to have, Cybil. We got to have that, because y'all act like we can't write. And we like, oh, that's nice. And we'll never ask for arrangement. And we really just end up perfecting our pen from in front of our ensemble, because sometimes with arrangement, you got to let the arranger in front of the ensemble to teach it. And sometimes there's some habits people have on paper and in practice that you don't want your kids to absorb music that way. Like, it's not healthy. It's not a healthy digestion for what it is that you do. And so we got to be so careful who we put in front of our kids, because, you know, it's like Lauren talks about Mrs. Doubtfire. And as a kid, I thought Robin Williams was so fun and funny. And I thought the mom was just as B. Then now I'm a grown up with a child and a husband. I was like, I'll be done. That would have been it for me too. You got a whole donkey in my house. You got a whole ass in my house. And it's just, but I feel like our kids sometimes see male band directors, especially in traditional style band scenes, like that whole presence of a male band director. That's a lot of showman, but not always a lot of depth. And I'm scratching on the wall a little bit. A lot of this but yeah, we know, and that boy good. I feel like that's what it's like. That boy good. But we get up there and our ictus is controlled and our expressive hand, and we can crumble the paper and release the dynamics. And guess what? They like, she born.
I thought that too, Krystal. I didn't mean to cut you out.
No, go ahead.
I thought that too. I used to think, why they making such a big deal? Because he waving all over the podium. Like, you should be focusing on what the kids doing. But I thought maybe that was just me picking. But I thought that too. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's how I saw it too.
Krystal, you're muted.
Jay, we need an action shot of Cybil in that moment. Because listen, can't nobody tell me that wasn't accurate. That was the most accurate depiction. It's all about that left arm coming back and coming forward, like you trying to, like it's like Scorpion off of Mortal Kombat. Get over here, nope. Like, what you doing? I'm sorry, I'm messing up. Still ain't gonna be, she ain't gonna be no good. It's a lot of theatrics, y'all, but there's confidence attached to that. And people feed off of that confidence as knowledge is not, or effectiveness. The best conducting seminar I've had was the band assistant director at Ole Miss. I'm mad I can't remember her name, but she was conducting air at this seminar. And I said, why isn't she like world renowned? Like, I've never seen, I said, I think I hear music. That's how convincing her gestures were. I was like, I don't know if I'm going crazy, but I feel like I hear music, but there ain't nothing playing right now. Like, I want to be that effective. And her gestures was like in some small little window. Like, it was just, it was different. And when it comes to what we trust culturally, we trust that. And students respond to that. Some of it is foolishness. Let's call it what some of it's foolishness, y'all. Some of the extra is foolishness, but we like a show. And our kids, if we put that person in front of them sometimes, where our demeanor is seen as weaker or not so confident, we come back and we trying to get them to do a dynamic level, and they not responding because Robin Williams, the cool dad, said, this is how you got to punch a note. It's like, why we punch? Okay. Everything can't be punched. I hope you don't go on dates like that. Like, that can't be your dating life. Is I'm a punch like, come over here, girl. Sit next to me. Like, you can't be aggressive for everything. And if you have a comprehensive program, you sure better not going to know. This is MPA season, right? Your kids can't articulate everything, Marcato, on that stage.
That's such a Melvin Miles analogy. I'm sorry, I just had to mention that.
We are who we are. We are what I almost said is what you fail to realize is, see, that's the Melvin and Miles name. What you fail to realize is I wasn't born with a shirt and tie on. I was like, oh, okay. We about to wrap it up. Flipping the question. Do you think women need to do a better job at reaching out to young ladies to mentor them in the profession? Whether that's performance, whether that is arranging. Oh, I got a personal feeling about that, but I'm gonna shut up. Band director, whatever. What's y'all final takes?
Um, do they need to do a better job of reaching out? And from my perspective, I think that they do a pretty good job. I know Miss Boykins has called before. Um, like I said, the high school director that took over when I graduated, she called and asked, if I could write music for them. So from my perspective, I think they're doing a good job. And then with me in the position I'm in, I have a few young ladies who are showing interest. So like the girl that I talked to y'all about last week, I actually pulled her out of her shell. She did not want to do this at all. But now, as a senior, the amount of respect that the kids give her and how they come to her for any and everything, she's got this coin name as Queen Bee, because they say she knows everything about music. You would have never thought that when she first got there. Very shy, very self didn't have a lot of self even worth. So me having the life growing up that I did and not really having that female presence, I just saw her and I said, I feel like I owe this to her, you know. So I think people reaching out to me growing up influenced me to do that same thing, and not just females, but you do want to get those females because they don't know that that position exists for a woman. Boys will come to you. They want to do it. They want to be drum major. They want to do this. So you got to make that extra effort to reach out to the girls that you think have that potential.
What about you, Lauren?
To what Sybil said, I agree that you kind of have to pull it out of them because, like I said, I wasn't really interested in a lot of leaders in college. I wasn't interested in a lot of leadership opportunities. Like I chickened out of being clarinet section leader one year. I turned around and became a euphonium section leader because it had to be done, but I felt like I wasn't valued enough, and I do feel like women directors, even with, I know that they go through a lot. They have enough on their plate, but they do need to reach out to those young ladies that show a lot of promise. Especially the ones that they all they do is talk about band, or they're always there. The first one's there, the last one's to leave. Really pay attention to those to their actions. And I do like how Dr. Boykins reaches out to the high school directors. I think there should be that type of sisterhood, um, that type of that outreach. So yeah, I absolutely think women band directors should reach out to students and colleagues.
Miss Davis, you got some final thoughts on it?
I was going to agree with Lauren and Sybil because I'm glad that they mentioned that because I never thought about it, and so that makes me more conscious about singling out those young ladies because I've had young ladies that just love band. They love band, but I've never like offered to push them on the podium or have I have like influenced them to work their sections and stuff like that, but never do like things that I would do as a band director. So I appreciate that input. I'm glad that I had an opportunity to hear from all of you, because although I'm teaching music now, elementary music, I do plan on returning to the podium as a band director, just on a different level, because I'm kind of over secondary education. I'm over the parents. It's not the kids. The kids are, they kids, but the parents have been, a little difficult. But I was going to mention, maybe, I know we've talked about this, but another thing that and I know we got to wrap it up, but the fact of our being a mother affects our role as band directors as well. And so that's a whole, other counterpoint of what female band directors have to deal with, that I don't think band directors even have to give a second thought. Oh, the kids with the wife. Well, the kids with me. So, as the band director, what do I do? But, and I was just thinking, like, we didn't mention much about that, but that may have a lot to do with it as well.
For me, I feel like girls aren't, I don't want to say trained is not necessarily the word I want, but I think you'll know what I mean when I say trained. Girls aren't always encouraged as much as boys to want to lead. And so I think as women, because we can probably identify with that a little bit more, like we do have to like pull them in and be like, I see this in you. Now, like you said, Cybil and Lauren, male band directors who are secure did that with us and do that with their young lady musicians. But for us, just something that's a conversation I've had with women band directors, period, at conferences, is we have to sometimes extend the olive branch and say, grab it, or not even grab it. Like we have to like put it in their hand and be like, hold on to this. Why? Don't ask all those questions. Hold on to what I am giving you. I promise you it's going to benefit you like it benefited me. And I tell them, like, y'all think I'm an extrovert. I'm not. After I get off this broadcast, daddy, I'm going to hit that Netflix, daddy, and I'm going to start watching something that nobody in my house want to watch deliberately so I can be by myself. But that personality can't be every day in front of the band room. You can't operate like that, especially as a woman musician. You can't, because you'll get ran over. You get trampled. Nobody's gonna listen to you. If you can't express yourself, if you can't find the words, or in the moment, it does affect us in a negative sense. And I'm doing a clinic with I'm coming to your state, Cybil, for the women band directors international North Carolina chapter. I'm coming to your state to talk about the introverted band director, but from a woman's perspective, because that introversion can keep opportunities from not even approaching our door. I didn't even say knock. I mean, it's driving by on a car. Like we don't even exist because we're not verbal, or sometimes as verbal as, the pilot control desk. Look, that conductor, like we're not like that historically. And I don't know. We got the big man in charge. Done hit the camera, daddy. Look at you.
I hit the camera, daddy. I had to. Just because. So first of all, I do want to start by saying that y'all are doing a great job. This is amazing. So y'all keep this thing up. I love it. But I did actually want to talk about the representation that I did have, because my first band director ever was a woman band director. Her name was Linda Stiegler. And she at Welch Middle School in Houston, Texas. And she's the one who put a trumpet in my hand and started me on my path to being a musician. And honestly, as I've said, well, a lot of my students know this, my wife knows this, I was never really interested in band when I got in band. But you know, she put the instrument in my hand, and I kind of just took off from there. I was a natural talent. And then from there, my second female band director, who was assistant band director, but she still had a major impact, was Delcenia Hill, God rest her soul, at Willow Ridge High School. And so those people really, really made a huge impact for me, so much so that when I became a director, I went back to my middle school and I apologized to Miss Stiegler for being such a butthole when I was in middle school. But it was amazing because after having that conversation, the first thing that she said to me was, well, first of all, you weren't really as bad as you think you were. But she did express to me, you know, because at the time I was thinking about actually completely leaving education, just 100%. And she just told me, she said flat out, we need teachers like you. You know, we need you to continue to be in the game. And so she was part of the reason why I did continue on. Now, how long that's going to be, I don't know. But she was one of the reasons why I did continue moving forward. So I did want to express that. And then also say that I always encourage my young ladies, my students, to always be leaders. I never stopped them from doing that. As a matter of fact, my last high school that I worked at, my last drum major was a young lady, and then the one who made it right after I left was a young lady. So I always encourage my young ladies to always be leaders and always step up. I never make them shy away from that. So, you know, I'm just doing my part as much as I can. So, but I wanted to come on and say that.
And I think we need that allyship. Like, we need it. Like, especially amongst kinfolk, you know, especially because at the end of the day, like, we want all of our babies to like succeed in whatever it is they do. And in particular, of course, music, like, because we're so underrepresented. Like, we need all hands on deck. Like, that's just where we are coming out of pandemic. Before the pandemic, you know, like they quick to cut a budget when the kids look like us on the screen. Like, it's quick. And if we don't have that type of unification and respect amongst each other, there's a whole lot of phallus swinging going on. And it's hurting our kids. It's hurting our kids to the point where, you know, I saw the comment that daughter left band. That representation, like, sometimes we could talk kids off the ledge with what it is that they want to do, or talk them onto standing on the ledge and balancing their life and being able to walk around confidently, even though, you know, one wrong move might mean, you know, it might mean an accident, but how to recover, how to catch your balance and be like, ooh, let me get it together. I feel like band directors did that for us. And I feel like when they look like you, they really are way more impactful than you know, just any Joe Schmo that, you know, hit that car daddy. All right, let me be honest. I hit that car daddy at 3:30 now. I'm in that car before.
I'm just proud of you that you're saying daddy, but hey, but keep going.
But also, just, you know, as we closing out, my husband had a woman band director. So he's not intimidated by me at home as a woman band director. He's not a band director. I think when men have diverse experiences, it creates more people who are open-minded. Be quiet, Lauren. I think it creates what we really need in this craft: synergy. We need it. And when you can identify, or like my husband, he could say, I've seen people be disrespectful to my wife and she ain't do nothing but be great, and you just being disrespectful because she's a woman. Like, it's because he had a woman band director, and he's seen his woman band director check people when they start to overstep that line confidently. And you know, if we could just have more, and not just, you know, out of all the podcasts, you know, I see women as a guest, but this started out because I didn't see enough of us. And let's just a little truth. It was always a captain, auxiliary. And that does make people think we don't exist. Like for real. It is. I don't see it, so it don't exist. It's not good. So that's my spiel. I know some people like, what's wrong with dance camp? Not a damn thing. Not because I can dance. So I love them the more. And don't ask me to catch no flag. I can tell you if the drop spin look good, but don't ask me to. I can't do a butterfly. I can't do none of it. I like them. They look great. No, don't try to teach me now. Listen, my sister did it, but I ain't got that ministry. So we just needed space where these conversations can happen. And before I close, you know, I'm about to do that. Oh, she about to cry. I appreciate y'all for taking out your Sunday. I appreciate you for saying, hey, you know, reaching out and saying this is something that's needed. And, you know, have fun and be honest, you know, and hit that pilot conducting, that traffic conducting, daddy. Maybe one day I'm just gonna do it and watch what my students think if I hit that.
They're gonna look at you like you're crazy.
They're gonna look at me like I'm I almost said another word.
Yeah, I know.
She done lost her. Man, what is going on, Miss Williams? You need to sit down. You all right? But we just gotta keep having that conversation. Next week, we're gonna have Stephanie Sanders. That girl good. That girl good. Okay.
Another influential person of mine. I just wanted to put that out there.
Oh, Juliet Boykin. That girl good.
Juliet is amazing as well.
And,
let me back off. I'll be quiet. Let me matter of fact, I'll tip out.
It's gonna be dope. It's gonna be dope. And hopefully a few more people, you know, to shout them out. So, you know, again, thank you for joining us. This was episode 3. And next week, part 2 of this episode, where we are going to invite you all to come and celebrate these wonderful women in music. It's Women's History Month. Stephanie Sanders has created a whole generation. Juliet Boykins has influenced a whole generation. Like if I can have the longevity, I think I'll be all right. I think I'll be all right if I could have, like, just, you know, I feel like I'm about to go to church. If I could just touch the hem, if I could just put my hand on the hem or the God, yeah. So I'm gonna start running my mouth. I gotta grade some papers. Lord help me, Jesus. I hate grading work. But thank you. See us next week. Come celebrate these women. Thank you, ladies. I'm gonna start calling us Charlie's Angels. Thank you, Charlie, aka Jay. You know, we gotta do the pose. And we'll see y'all next week. Thank you, Jay. We gotta talk. Is that your daughter that quit, man? I don't know. You can hear me. Let me go ahead and hit that leave button.